Kevin said he's going to be a little bit late, so we'll wait on the questions you guys have, EOS Amsterdam. We can wait on those until Kevin gets here so you can have some answers for them. And we can go over a couple of the updates that have happened in the EOS community this week until then. There's been two major initiatives going on this week, both centered around the cooperative voting infrastructure that a few of the proxies have been putting on. So a bunch of the proxies led by, I think EOS 42 has been doing a lot of the work in getting this together. They've been putting together a sort of bounty program for EOS where the proxies agree to vote for specific producers if the producers put together a proposal that solves an issue that's been outstanding in EOS. So the two initiatives they've identified for the moment, the two major problems were full history and backup block producer readiness. The full history one, I believe they selected EOS RIO for the solution they came out with. EOS RIO came out with Hyperion about a week ago, which is a full history solution where they've created a new history API format and a new kind of a replacement for the EOS action traces as well, where there's like a V2 version of how the data is stored so that it takes up about 1/3 to 1/4 of the space it takes up right now. So EOS RIO identified that a lot of the data was coming from require recipient calls, which are copies of data, and from inline traces, which weren't necessarily contributing anything to the in terms of extra data that you couldn't just compute from the existing data. So they managed to trim the data size down from 4 terabytes or so down to, in an active database and index, about 600 gigabytes, which is much more palatable, much more storable on servers that we're running right now. So I've noticed a couple people have started the process of getting Hyperion running. The main hurdle to getting Hyperion running, from what I've seen, is getting a full history change state history node synced up, which is a new plugin that Block1 rolled out a couple months ago that stores a full history of the chain, action traces, database changes, all sorts of stuff. So it's a little bit more complete than the block log. So there's a bunch of producers that have been working around getting that synced up, and then Hyperion is a layer on top of that. So that's been on the history end. On the backup block producer proposal, that one is still active. Proposals are being taken. There's been a couple solutions so far that have been gaining traction with the proxies in the community. The first one is, they're both centered around rotating block producers in to the 21st slot. In the 21st slot, how Steam, I don't remember exactly how Steam does. I don't know how many backups they have. But I know Telos has a system where they rotate backup producers in every 6 hours. And there's been two proposals on how to do that so far. One is through a smart contract or script where proxies delegate their votes through that script, and the script automatically rotates producers in by randomly selecting a producer every 6 hours to move into the schedule. Downsides of that one would be that the schedule would change far more often than it does right now. I believe the schedule changes at the moment about once every 8 hours, and this would cause the schedule to change, and additionally once every 6 hours on top of that, so it would more than double the amount of schedule changes. And the reason schedule changes can be problematic is that schedule changes are what light clients use for IBC, inter-blockchain communication. So in the future, when that starts rolling out, and I've already seen some testnet implementations of IBC rolling out, when that rolls out, it'll be twice as difficult to sync a light node using the proxy rotation method as it is right now. The other option is to modify how the schedule is stored on chain so that it includes the backups, and this would prevent any schedule changes from being published on chain, but this would require a hard fork, and it would require delving deep into the EOS IO source code. It would cause consensus changes, so getting that passed would be much, much more difficult than the smart contract method, which only requires enough proxies, enough of the votes, a higher percentage enough of the votes to rotate in and out, to delegate their votes to the script so they can rotate producers in and out. So I think the lowest producer right now is at 85 million, and the backups are at number 25 is at 79. So if we wanted to rotate 5 producers in, we would only need about 5 to 10 million worth of votes, which the proxies easily have, and they'd be able to implement this rotation.
There's also proxies that already vote for those block producers, so you have to do a more thorough analysis.
Okay. If they vote for the, okay. I mean, yeah, we'd have to do, I guess, more thorough analysis. My guess is probably the number, there's a 5 million gap right now, a 6 million gap. My guess is it's going to end up being somewhere around 15 to 20 million votes required to sufficiently do this, assuming they're distributed in a decent enough way. Do you have anything to add about Hyperion, Thiago?
Hey, I'm actually I can make a quick presentation of Hyperion, but I suggest we do it later because I'm still arriving at the office here. I was out of the office, but if you want, I can talk a little about Hyperion. It's already available. Anyone can use it. I can send the link later. But basically, it's operational.
Okay.
You guys can play around with it. And we are currently working in creating the analytics part of it. We are creating, adding more metadata so that we can have the blockchain statistics being consumed from Hyperion. So basically, that's it. I don't know if you guys have any doubts on Hyperion, or if you have seen already the podcast or the post.
I saw the post. I was just we were talking about it a little bit before you hopped on the call. I just wanted to get more details on what exactly the history changes are and what the justifications were behind the changes to the action format.
Oh yeah, basically is to avoid redundancy. That's not needed when we store transactions, actions, and inline actions that are just event notifiers. So that's why Igor opted for that flattened out design based exclusively on actions. And you may depend to validate something that you really want to validate if it's on chain and etc. To just fetch the block because we are not storing this. But in general, for consuming the history, it's much lighter. So that was the motivation for the design choice, because there's actually a lot of redundancy being stored on version 1 API, history API. So basically that's it. I don't know. Does that?
Yeah. No, I was just curious about the reasons. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. There is a great resource on that. We were on EOS Voter podcast with Miles, and Igor gave a very complete explanation on Hyperion. It's interesting to watch that. Maybe we can have Igor at some point on this call to talk about Hyperion as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. Would you mind dropping a link to that podcast or the interview in the chat so that others could access it? Yeah, thanks, man.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I haven't. Do you know of anybody else that's come out with a full history solution besides Hyperion so far?
I mean, we have EOS Tribe doing Elasticsearch, but I think they are using the V1 format. Of course, EOS Canada with it have some overlaps with the Fuse.
Right.
and I think I'm forgetting someone. There are other approaches, and not the full history, but for the light history, Greymass is using or propose a light history where you get, I think that the 100 transactions for any account. So they're just pruning the history.
Okay, and those still using the V1 API, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the space saving on the V2 versus the V1 format?
The blockchain for us, the storage is around 650 gigabytes, and the V1 it's around 5 terabytes. It's a pretty.
It's about 85% savings, right?
Yeah. But actually, the savings. This is the storage savings because I think Syed was projecting that the cost to run a full node on a cloud service would be around, I think it's below $500 of infrastructure right now.
Is that on top of the chain state data that's required?
That is no, actually the state data is included in the 650 gigabytes. I believe I may be wrong here. I can confirm a figure, but I think it's already there.
Okay.
Don't need.
I'm curious to see if we could host. I know syncing up Hyperion takes a few days at the moment, right?
To sync, I think it's about 72 hours, the last version.
Okay, that's not bad. We've been hosting copy of this chain state history at the moment, and that's already 700 gigabytes or something. We're down to host if you have some sort of image of the latest Hyperion snapshot. We're down to host, like a downloadable link that'll make it a lot faster for people to sync that up. We're happy to pay for the bandwidth costs and everything associated with storage associated with that.
Awesome. I'll get you guys a link. I'll confirm that with Igor and talk to you guys so that it will be awesome. I think we need this infrastructure.
Cool.
I just don't know how can I send messages from the cell phone. Let me check here.
That's cool. We can get all that going like when you get settled into the office.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Yves, so we just recapped the full history solution and backup block producer stuff. We're waiting on Kevin to hop on the call to answer.
I believe Kevin right now is on another call about the EOA, so I don't know how long he's going to be.
We'll give him another 2 or 3 minutes, or I guess another like 5 minutes. If he's not on by then, I think we might push this over to next week or something. You have anything to add, Yves, about either full history, backup block production, or something else?
Well, just to give an idea, we are running the light history of V1, and we're also running Hyperion as well. Like Thiago mentioned, I think it's like 72 hours, give or take. I think it's 3 or 4 days to replay Hyperion. It takes about a week to replay light history, which is on V1, which is only 100 transactions worth. So it's significant in terms of time saving, in terms of cost saving, obviously, and in terms of cost saving either bandwidth and or hardware and or whatever, whether or not you're doing bare metal or cloud services. So regardless, it's a really, really good alternate solution. And it's fairly easy to run as well. So Elasticsearch is super easy. It's very stable. It's used for this type of stuff. Whereas, for example, history, Greymass did a super good job at populating those light history options, and it's pretty good. But again, if you fail, even just the light history replay, it's another week. The full history is a little over a month. So with this, you're able to get the full history in a couple of days. If you fail for some reason, which would be odd because Elasticsearch is pretty stable, and if you know what you're doing as well, Igor did some really good documentation for it. But if you fail, you're maybe wasting 2 days a day. Okay. It's really not that bad.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have to hop off in 5 minutes or so. So maybe it's a good idea to postpone for next week.
Yeah, we're at 7:28 right now. We could cut this off at 7:30 if Kevin isn't on by then, and we can push to next week. Yeah, I'm curious to see if we can get the full history thing. Right now we're down to like Igor managed to cut that thing down all the way down to like 3 days. I'm curious to see if we have like a bunch of download links and stuff, whether we can get full history done. The ability to get a full history node spun up in 1 day.
Even faster. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
I know that actually, maybe Thiago knows. I would think that Thiago knows more, but I think that that's part of the idea. Is it's still not even fully optimized yet. So ideally, you'd be able to, even without downloading from anywhere, be able to spin it up in potentially a day. No,
yeah,
I don't know how accurate that is, but I remember Denis, because Denis and Saeed have been working with Rio on a couple of things, and Denis was mentioning, if I'm not mistaken, that Igor is still working on optimizing, and there's significant optimization that can still occur that would make it really, really quick.
Yeah, and as we are doing the multi-thread, because we get an API history, so we can multi-thread indexing, so you can actually start serving recent history even before you are fully synchronized. So you can start operating with less than that, I think.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So ideally, Kedar, you're looking for like a download link of the actual history file so that you can just download it faster and then just spin it up already started kind of deal?
Exactly. Like we're trying to find if there's some sort of image we can store that's, maybe like a terabyte or something large, and you can download a terabyte onto a cloud server. And
which is pretty,
yeah.
I know that for History V1, we even went as far as asking people to FedEx us the actual drive. Because it's so large, we're like, just put it on a drive. We'll pay for the drive. We'll pay for the shipping. Just send it over, and it'll be faster than the month to replay. So I think it's a significant improvement from then.
Yeah, seriously.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, we were talking because Greymass has been helping us out a lot because we were doing also V1, and at some point that's what we suggested. Just FedEx us the drives. We'll pay for everything. It'll be much faster, and then that way we'll have copies. Either way, we have to build copies. We'll just transfer it. But if we can host something, which I think should be realistic, I think it's 650 gigs right now, right? So it's really not that much. Well, it's a lot, but considering we're producing a lot of data.
Yeah, we're easily that's not a problem at all. That size. If that's the complete thing. I'm guessing I have a hunch that 650 doesn't include the actual node itself. So you could host the history, but I don't think you could keep up in sync with that data.
I'm not the right person to ask.
Yeah, but I'm curious.
So I don't. Yeah, I actually don't think it gets. It's not the node itself. You have to have a process running there, I think.
Right, which means it would be, I guess, yeah. If there was some way to sync the data without having to run a node, that would be great too. That's something I'll look into helping out on.
Yeah. Have you received the link I sent you? I don't know if it went through.
No, I don't see it.
No problem. I'm logging in here with my computer so I can send you guys.
All right. Well, I'm guessing that Jetse and Rhett have to go. I can also take the time. I don't think that Kevin's going to be coming. He's not responding to my messages either. I know he was on another call. So anyways, the last minute emergency. So if
no problem.
everything's okay, then I will, I'm going to log off and I have another call as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
We're
sorry
just
guys.
logging off.
We'll see you in a minute. Okay.
Well, I'll see you next time, man.
See you guys next week.
Everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, see you.